Hi guys, welcome back to Too Cool for Middle School. I'm excited because today I'm doing some content specifically for people who are becoming teachers and going through that process. This could apply to more experienced teachers too, but mostly I'm talking to you guys who are in the process of becoming a teacher, and I love making videos like this. This is kind of how my channel started, and it's been a while, so I'm excited to do this video. I wanted to talk to you today about jobs that you can do before you become a teacher that kind of help you to build your skills and help you to build your resume. I think one thing that always helped me on my resume when I really didn't have any real teaching experience was the fact that I had so much experience still just working with kids outside of an official school setting. Plus, it really helps in interviews when they ask you, what you would do in a certain situation with a kid, and if you haven't really worked with students before, then it makes the interview process really tough. So you definitely want to try and get some work experience with students before you're out there trying to apply for teaching jobs. And thank you so much to DaDa for sponsoring this video. We're going to get to them in just a second. My job all the way through college, all the way through my credential program, and even into some of my teaching career was a music teacher. Got my piano right here actually without the sound on, but I used to teach chords like this and scales. Ooh, it's been a while, I'm out of practice. But teaching private music lessons was such good experience for me because I had to learn how to kind of tailor my lessons to all kinds of different students. I got experience communicating with parents and working with families and just building relationships with my music students. I taught piano and voice lessons, and then I would put on concerts, recitals every so often. So it was just really good for me to get that experience in like organizing events and organizing kids and organizing families. And even though I'm not doing it anymore, I still keep in contact with a lot of my students, and I just loved doing that job, and it really actually helped me to see that I did want to become a teacher. Another thing that I would do over the summer was I was a sports camp director, and that was really fun too, and it was important to get that experience with like a group of kids and managing transitions and games and warm-ups and check-in and check-out and bathroom breaks and water breaks and all of that kind of stuff. So that was some wonderful experience as well. Also, after I got my credential, I've told this story quite a few times, but there were no teaching jobs, so I worked as a director of an after-school program, and that also gave me really great experience working with families, working with kids, working at a school, organizing a schedule. I remember there were certain days when they would like get out early, and so we'd have to adjust the schedule for that, and I came up with all of these like scavenger hunts and like guest speaker days, and we had to come up with like incentives for good behavior and just all these things that definitely helped to prepare me for when I went into job interviews and then when I actually went into my first classroom as a teacher. One thing that I never actually did but would have been great experience is to just be an academic tutor, like either at your college or for high school students or younger students just around your area, tutoring them in whatever is your expertise, maybe like SAT prep or writing or math or science or whatever you're really good at. And the only limitation with that is just that sometimes it can be hard to like find students and schedule everybody. That was the hardest thing about teaching music lessons, was that I had to make my own schedules, and if somebody was sick, like figure out how to do a makeup lesson, or if I had to take a day off, figure out everybody's schedules again, or if people were just on vacation, I just wouldn't get paid. So one thing that I really wish I had known about back then or had been around back then are online tutoring opportunities, and I've been learning about DaDa online tutoring services, and this seriously would have been perfect for me while I was getting my credential. Even in those first couple years when I was just like working part-time and stuff, I probably would have had time for this while I was doing my master's, so I want to tell you about it so you don't miss this opportunity. So DaDa is an online English tutoring service that provides tutors from all over the world, as long as they are a native English speaker, to students in China. The education requirements to work for DaDa are that you have a bachelor's degree, But in California, you get your bachelor's degree and then you continue to take classes and work towards a teaching credential. So for me, this would have been a really good part-time job to do during that time, because you can't really work a full-time job because you're still taking classes, you're still doing some student teaching, but you do have some extra time, and I definitely still needed income. You want to say hi?
Hi.
But yes, just to clarify again, you do need a bachelor's degree, and if you live in California while you're getting that credential or master's, this is the perfect time to gain work experience in a job where you are working directly with students and to work on those skills that you're going to need in the classroom one day. You might know that a lot of my students where I teach recently lived in China, or they kind of like move back and forth from the US to China. And I asked them about this service and they totally knew what I was talking about. They're like, yeah, a lot of kids do that over there to brush up on their English, either just for purposes there in China, or if they're planning on moving over here or somewhere where people speak English, they want to work on their skills. And a lot of times they start English lessons really young. So a lot of the kids who you would be tutoring are pretty young kids. And I just see so many upsides to this for somebody who wants to one day become a teacher or who is a newer teacher, because when you're doing one-on-one lessons with a kid, you really get to just practice your teaching strategies, and you have to be really intentional about how you reach that kid, and you really pay attention to their specific personality and needs. And especially with a student who's trying to learn English, you are really going to have a chance to practice those strategies that you have for language development. Chances are, no matter where you are, you're going to have students in your class who are still learning to speak English, and it's your job to make all of the curriculum accessible to them. And that can be kind of a difficult thing, but it's great if you have some practice in that area before you get started in a typical classroom setting. A couple of other things that seem really great about doing DaDa is that you're always going to have students. So like for me, you know, my summer programs were only in the summer, and then during the summer or like holidays, my students would often be gone, my music students, and so I just like wouldn't get paid, and it wasn't the most consistent money, so it did actually cause me quite a bit of stress because I was the one in charge of money, in charge of scheduling, and in charge of teaching. So that can just be a little bit stressful. But with DaDa, you're only in charge of teaching, and they take care of the scheduling, they take care of collecting tuition, and then they just pay you, and you don't have to worry about any of those things. So your schedule and your money will be consistent. For so many of us working through credential programs and all of that, that's really important. We've got bills to pay. Now, another thing that can be a little bit stressful when you're working is that your schedule changes every so often. So sometimes it can be hard to commit to like a long-term schedule, but with DaDa you can do a 6-month contract. So it's nice that it's just that 6-month commitment, and their minimum requirement is that you do 2 days a week and 2 hours per day, but you could do more than that if you want to. So for people in the United States, this is going to be mostly early morning hours, because the hours are going to be based on like Shanghai afternoons and evenings when the kids would typically do tutoring, and they've got to like go to school during the day and then go to bed at night. So there's kind of a small window per day when they're available for tutoring, and this is live with them interacting with you on the screen. So you're not like pre-recording videos or anything, you are interacting with them. So it needs to be live. So if you're on the East Coast, this could be really great. A lot of times it's going to be like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. You could just wake up early before your roommates, make a cup of coffee, go downstairs to your little area where you teach from when it's still nice and quiet, teach a couple of classes in the morning, and then you've already worked a couple hours that day and you've already made some money. On the West Coast or anywhere else, you know, in that direction, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because of our time zones. So you might have to wake up like really early and maybe do it from like 3 in the morning to 6 in the morning. But I kept really weird hours in college, to be honest. And that's just a time in your life when night and day kind of don't even mean anything anyway, and you can make almost anything work. So depending on your situation and your sleep schedule, who knows, that might actually work for you. Another upside, in addition to like the consistent money, is that you can also gain raises based on your performance and how well you're doing with your students. And you could take on extra hours if you've got extra time. And it's also built in so that you can take days off if you need to as well. You just have to communicate with them and schedule those in. And everything that you need to do the job, you probably already have, especially if you or somebody working towards becoming a teacher. You need a laptop. Most of us have that already, and it needs to have either like a rear-facing camera, or you can just purchase an additional camera that can hook up to your computer. Those are pretty cheap. You're also going to need to have reliable Wi-Fi, and there are some lists of requirements on their website, but probably whatever Wi-Fi you have is fine. You're also going to need a headset so that the sound quality is consistent, and then sky blue shirts. If it's a t-shirt that has some graphics or writing on it, you could just turn it inside out. No one will know the difference. And then lastly, you'll need some kind of an uncluttered background, and you could put up like maybe a map or some simple charts or something. This could be a fun way to practice some of your like bulletin board skills, and just put up a few like visual cues for your students behind you. DaDa provides all of the teaching materials and all of the lessons, so you don't really have to plan out the curriculum or anything. It's already there. But if you want to get like some little puppets or like a whiteboard or a chalkboard or anything like that that's kind of a teaching aid that will just make your teaching more effective, you're definitely welcome to use things like that too. And again, even though like in my mind I'm thinking how perfect this would be for somebody or a credential program, even if you are already teaching, if you're in the right time zone and you're a morning person, you could wake up and start teaching lessons at like 5 and do a couple of hours and then go to work after that. It just kind of depends on your availability and what you're willing to do, but this is a really great opportunity for anybody that wants to earn a little bit of extra money from home and just use those skills that you either already have or that you're trying to work on anyway. The last thing that I think is so cool about it is that you have the opportunity to get to know these kids from an entirely different country, if you don't live in China, and different culture, and I just think that is invaluable. Like I said, so many of my students are from China and lived there for quite a few years and were educated there for a long time, and I love hearing their stories. It's so interesting just to get to know kids who grew up differently than I did and have so much to teach me. They have so many cool stories, and just the perspective that they bring to my class is amazing. So especially maybe if you live in an area where you're not going to get that exposure to people from China, what a cool experience to have while you're preparing to be a teacher. In my opinion, any time spent getting to know somebody from a different world than you live in is always time well spent. Even if they're like 6 years old and you're using puppets to talk, I still think that would be a great way to spend your mornings. So if you have any other questions for me about the program, you can leave them in the comments below. At the moment, I'm bummed that I'm not able to do it just because you already know that I can't even wake up on time for my like 6 a.m. alarm, much less 3 in the morning because I'm over here on the West Coast, but I really wish that I could. And I wish I'd known about it sooner when I had a different schedule, but any questions that I can answer for you, I will try to do that. I will also just leave DaDa's website below because they have lists of like frequently asked questions, and probably most of the things that you're wondering about can be found there. They have testimonials. A lot of people who like travel a lot do this on the side. You know what would be another really good thing too is if you're on like maternity leave, you could schedule some tutoring hours in around like nap times with your kids. Whenever you have a newborn, day is night, night is day, nothing matters, and you can just do anything whenever it needs to be done. So this could be really good for moms who are at home for 6 months or so, which would be incredibly lucky and can only work a few hours a week, but could really benefit from a little bit of income. So anyway, I'm super interested in how it works for you if you try it out, especially if you're like somebody that's becoming a teacher. I would love to hear how you feel like it's preparing you for your future job. There are just so many cool opportunities these days with the internet. And this one sounds especially amazing. So thank you again for watching this video. I hope that this is helpful to you. Work on those teaching skills, management skills, relationship building skills, communication skills while you are preparing to become a teacher through tutoring, teaching, summer camps, whatever you can do, because as much as you can get now, that is just always going to help you in the future when you're applying for jobs and when you get into your first classroom and you're like, what have I done? Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.